Welcome back to another episode of Scryer's Room. I am your host, Famfare.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mario.
And today we're going to talk about the cult classic Spawn. And how it did not age too well.
No, it did not. For those of you who are unaware, in the 90s, there was this big boom of edgelord stuff that suddenly became okay to make because we had some changes in regards to what was okay to put on television. And this one guy decided he was going to make a comic that was the edgiest thing that he could possibly make.
Just so gratuitously edgy, man. Like,
because, first of all, the name, right?
Oh, yeah.
Why is he called Spawn?
Because he's one of the Hellspawn.
Yeah, there you go. He's Hellspawn.
Hellspawn.
From the pit.
But he's a hardcore and he doesn't work for Hell, so he's just Spawn.
The older I get, the less seriously I can take that, dude.
It really is.
It's so fucking cringe.
Yeah, he told the devil to go fuck himself.
Yeah, I bet he did. And then fucking did a fucking wheelie on his goddamn skateboard.
The very premise of Spawn. First off, the guy who made Spawn is white, and that's going to matter in like 5 seconds when I reveal to you that Spawn is a black guy who gets burned to death pretty horrifically. And there's like an underlying theme of Spawn that I can't describe it any other way. A lot of people will understand it, I think, after I say it. There's an underlying theme of, aren't I cool that I made him a black guy?
Oh, man. I didn't know that was in the comics.
I'm hip. I'm cool.
Yeah, you can feel it in certain things.
No, I know that exact moment, that exact feeling, that exact, like, smugness almost, of, like, really, like, he like, takes a fart into a wine glass and goes whiffs it all down.
He absolutely does that.
Yeah, definitely one of those moves.
But, like, the premise of Spawn, he dies horribly in a fire, possibly by the machinations of hell, depending on your interpretation of the later stuff that happens, because it turns out this guy is such a big fan of, actually, none of that happened like you thought at all, that none of this even counts.
Beautiful writing.
But as far as, like, you need be concerned for, if you wish to watch the 90s cartoon or the 90s movie...
Which is...
They're both terrible.
Pretty rough, yeah.
But I love them, and I've seen them both a lot. Because I was very edgy back in my day. And we can't change the past.
No,
so, unfortunately, I have always...
Also, let me interrupt. I love edgy nonsense. In Warhammer, I play most of the spiky people. Because I love how edgy they are. Dark Elves, sign me the fuck up. They're so nonsensically edgy... For no reason other
Dark
than the
Elves
fact
are
that they
more
can.
sensible in their edginess than your main thing, which is Skaven.
Yeah.
Skaven are unnecessarily, and then we eat everyone. Everyone we can.
They refer to most things as just meat.
Yeah.
Like, that really tickled me. Like,
they have a society. No way.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And then there's Spawn.
Yeah, Spawn. So he burns to death. And he goes to hell, by the way, for not a very good reason. The reason that he goes to hell is because he used to be, like, in special forces, and they put down, like, a couple of, like, dictators and revolutionaries and stuff in vaguely South America or Middle East countries, depending on which part of it you're reading. And pretty much every time that they go back to that, it shows him being like, guys, we can't do this. It's very evil. And they're like, just follow your orders or we'll kill you too. And he's like, all right. And then that's what sent him to hell, even though he's like a devoutly like good-hearted man who's like never in any of the flashbacks is he the guy who's like, and then the guy was like, please, I'll never do it again. So I killed him anyway. No, never. Not once. He's played very much as like, and he also deserved to go to hell, but not all the way. Because he gets sent to hell, and apparently the devil who they gave a new name to, they call him Malabolgia. He didn't need a new name. It's not like we have like a shortage of names for the devil. But he got a new name, and he looks like a giant monster. And his plan is he wants to wage war on heaven, as most Satans do. And in order to do that, he needs soldiers. And by that, he means literally the souls of soldiers to be soldiers in the afterlife.
That's how that works, you know.
Apparently. You die an ice cream man, you serve in hell as an ice cream man.
Which, how can you have ice cream in hell? Maybe that's part of being
You
in
can't.
hell,
That's why he's being... That's his
job.
torture. He has to sit in that cold-ass truck, and everyone's like, can I have some ice cream? And he's like, there's no fucking ice cream.
That's a pretty bad hell.
And then all the children cry, and they're like, you're the worst ice cream man ever. And he's a more interesting character than Spawn.
It's so fucking mean.
Anyway, so he gets sent to hell because hell needs soldiers, and they basically tell him, what we're going to do, because we want you to be like the general of this army, we're gonna send you to really learn to hate humanity. So to do that, we're gonna send you back to Earth, all burned up still, like you survived your death. By the way, everyone should be, pretty concerned that guy who burned to death, burned up homeless man who has all of his memories showed up. No one assumes that he survived and they were lied to. Everyone's like, he's definitely dead, and you're definitely just an insane homeless man. Despite the fact that you have all of his memories and his voice. And you're just like, please, my wife, I've been gone for years. I know, because hell is evil. But I'm all burned up. Please, will you accept me as I am? And she's like, get this homeless motherfucker out of my face. Anyway. Sends him back up to be homeless, which sucks, obviously. And then he meets a different homeless man who's some kind of wizard or King Arthur of some kind, because he's like, I know all about the Hellspawn. You can use your powers to do all kinds of crazy things. But the more you use them, the less of the evil hell juice you have in your body, and then you'll be sent back to hell when you don't have enough hell juice. And he's like, then I better be really careful with how I spend my hell juices. So most of the movie is him getting impaled on things and losing hell juices.
Yeah, that is what
because otherwise, technically speaking, if Green Lantern was allowed to just kill everyone.
Oh, man.
Because he can just spawn swords and spikes and chains, and he can turn his cape into... At one point, he turned it into a building.
I remember his cape was just like a Valmorphinizing.
Yeah, he can turn it into anything. He's a Green Lantern.
I remember that being an important part about.
Honestly, Green Lantern is more Spawn than Spawn is, because Green Lantern does work for some relatively morally corrupt beings, and he has the power to do anything with the power of will, and he will turn on that being that gives him power in order to protect Earth or the universe or just goodness. Whereas Spawn mostly gets thrown onto spikes and stuff to lose his hell juices, and then they send an evil clown to go make fun of him. So John Leguizamo in the movie, but there's a character called the Violator, who's a clown.
The Violator, God, dude, going back to imagine thinking that was cool. Imagine the time frame where that was cool.
Yeah.
He's a demon.
He's a demon clown man. Yeah.
What other name is he gonna have?
So this is one of my big problems that I had with Spawn. Also, the reason the Violator isn't in charge of Hell's armies is because he doesn't have a soul. Demons don't have souls, right? So they need a soul to go wage war in heaven. That's very important. That's why he's getting the souls of soldiers to make soul soldiers to go to heaven with their souls. Which is circumvented entirely later because Violator just shows up in heaven later.
But how?
By being the Violator.
Okay, I guess he violated that rule.
Yeah, he violated it. And there's no real consequence for betraying the devil. The devil's more of a I'll get you next time style villain. Which is concerning because he seems to be about to do his war with heaven.
On the cusp.
And then the comics, I stopped reading after a certain point because what happened was Spawn, at a certain point, he's working with the homeless wizard man, and he finds out homeless wizard man is actually dead this whole time, and he maybe is an angel, or maybe he's Merlin, or maybe he's all this other stuff. And Spawn, like, asks him, like, how do I break the chains of hell? And he's like, oh, you need to, like, completely turn your back on it. And then Spawn, for a little while, becomes, like, an angel guy. Just in time for Wizard Man to also be the devil.
What?
Yes. So he starts being the devil at that point. The devil loses to new Wizard Devil, because Wizard Devil's way stronger, turns out. And then he's the bad guy for a little while. But not for so long that you would think perhaps he's defeated. Long enough for Spawn to go back in time to the Middle Ages to talk to actual Merlin.
Oh. Okay.
And then come back to the present, leaving a different Spawn back in the past so that they can have like a spin-off going at the same time as mainline Spawn. But also it's changing the future, but also they're ignoring all changes to the future in mainline Spawn. Get that shit out of your head right now. So you can see the frustration that I have with this.
Yeah, that sounds so convoluted and nonsensical.
Extremely. In the film, they make it seem like the main character, John Spawn, we'll call him. They make it seem like he's really essential to, like, the plans
He's a really
of
cool
hell.
guy.
Yeah.
He fights demons and
He's
doesn't
the best special ops man in the universe.
Fuck.
And that has extended to being a Spawn. Now, I've watched that film relatively recently, and I'll tell you, Spawn doesn't win. He just keeps getting the hell juice beaten out of him. Until at the very end...
Can he get Hell Juice back?
By going to hell.
And then he has to come back to Earth?
You can't go back to Earth. Once you lose your hell juice, you come back, and he's like, now you work for hell. That was his deal. You get...
Wait, so he keeps getting Hell Juice knocked out of him, but it's never enough to send him back to hell?
Oh, it's never plot relevant amount of hell juice. He's never going to lose so much hell juice that he's in any actual danger.
That's what I'm getting at. I guess it's just an empty threat.
It's a completely empty threat.
Damn.
McFarlane, I believe that's the name of the guy who made this. McFarlane never intended to cash in on, which is weird because he loses a lot of hell juice.
More hell juice than his body has, huh?
Yeah.
That's funny.
But everyone kicks the shit out of him, and then he, like the devil loses off of the strength of everyone being like, no, devil, I won't be the bad guy anymore. And then I'm pretty sure Martin Sheen dies.
No, man. I'm looking up the author here. Yeah, Todd McFarlane.
Todd McFarlane.
There it is. There it is, man.
Todd McFarlane really wants to be like an edgy, like, man who writes things with consequences, but there's a good chance whenever you're reading something of his that if the character was just introduced, then they're the ones in any danger. If they survive chapter 1, they're gonna make it. Everyone either, like, even Wizard Devil dies, and then later he's just back, and he's back on Spawn's side, like he forgot that happened.
What else has he made?
Let's pull it up. Let's look up some of Todd McFarlane's stuff.
It makes it sound like all the other characters that get introduced is just that poor guy in JoJo's. Like, I got a girl back home.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get married to her.
So I really did enjoy the
that guy who was just walking his dog.
The animated one, because it had to take like a very anthological approach to it, because as with all cartoons of the time, he was told, if you make this like a contiguously running series that has plot, that one episode will affect the next, will feed you to wild dogs. So most of them are like very like self-contained, and in that sense, it can be very good, because Spawn in those episodes is very much like, he meets a different fucked up guy and he's like, you deserve to go to hell. And the person's like, you don't understand. And then they go through some flashbacks while Spawn stalks him like a hobo through the night. And then we learn more about that character's backstory. And then that character will either die or live forever. Which is weird because it happens to like one of the opponents that I'm pretty sure he straight up shoots him in the head.
Oh, that's a pretty good move.
And then that guy's just in prison later.
He was fine. He made it.
Luckily, it was only a shot in the head.
Yeah. Could have been worse. Could have been fatal.
Couple feet lower in the tummy area, like off to the side where a character could like hide it for a little while. That's fatal. So Todd McFarlane's like pretty like prolific in like the stuff that he's made. but like Spawn was his thing that like that was his character. I'm pretty sure like he actually owns like all the rights to Spawn and everything. Unlike he created Venom.
Oh wow. Okay. Holy shit. I don't know shit about comic books.
I'll tell you why that makes sense, because that's the same character.
Yeah, it really is. It really fucking is, man. He gets that I'm gonna make edgier Venom, and he's gonna be my guy. He's gonna be my action figure. And I'm gonna beat him up
from hell.
That's really what he is.
That's what happened.
That's what happened.
The Violator, when he turns into a demon form, he just has like the big tentacle tongue and like the open mouth full of all the spiky teeth.
Like Carnage.
He's just the same. He just did it again.
Damn. I mean, if you gotta mold that works, might as well use it.
It was the 90s.
Okay.
He was cashing in.
Cashing in hard.
For all of this that I'm saying, by the way, I obviously cannot comment on whether or not this is good or bad. All I can comment on is that I got frustrated trying to read comics from a bygone era by a man who, at the very least, thought that he was very edgy.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking edgy. It's
perhaps if I were to take the cultural context of the 90s and it being like the first of its kind to do certain things, perhaps it's actually pretty good. But I'm a big fat guy who lives at least 30 years in the future from there, who is pretty used to just shitting on stuff. I'm very comfortable shitting on this.
It's like sometimes you have to look back to know where you're going, and we can only say Spawn is gratuitously edgy because someone made it when it was just regularly like acceptable levels of edgy.
Right.
Granted, that's kind of around the time edginess was really being pushed to being like, okay, what's cool and what's cringe? Let's find out. And then they just had a field day doing so.
I don't know if cringe as a concept was around yet.
So,
not exactly.
Cringe wouldn't be invented for another 10 years at the very minimum.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. So, before we had cringe, how could people know if things were based or not? There's no way of knowing. You just kind of had to throw shit on the wall and see what sticks. And then either people just didn't like it, or they fucking ate it up. They didn't really have the concept of cringe to be like, ooh, that's kind of, ooh.
So, like, I don't know too much about
Did they need to make the burned up homeless Hellspawn man also impotent so he didn't even get his wife pregnant? No, they didn't.
What did he mean by this?
What he did. But yeah, the only thing...
I'm pretty sure he does a bunch of cuck shit.
One of the things I really don't like about Spawn, it's one of the only things I know about Spawn, is that he just becomes the strongest.
Yeah.
Like, at the end. Like, at the end, he, like, is stronger than the devil and God.
Yes.
Oh, fuck you!
Yeah.
So the implication was that's why he was so important to get onto Hell's side, because he could be the guy. He could be Elijah Wood's character in Spy Kids. He could be the main character on the box art. And then he is, which is weird because we're told you need Hell Juice to do your powers. And then he's killed so bad he's out of Hell Juice and he goes to Hell. That's why like the end is like Hell is there. And he's like, and it turns out I was still good enough to do it. Nailed it. Job done. He does end up more powerful than the God the Devil. I'm pretty sure multiple times because there's a bunch of there's cosmic Spawn. There's like the version of Spawn that goes to heaven and now he's all blue and white. And he's still a burned up homeless guy for some reason.
How many issues were in this comic?
Let's Google it.
That's
a
all.
few.
I was gonna say, I
Spawn
feel
went
like
on for a while.
Yeah, what was the original run of Spawn? I'm kind of curious here. I don't know how long most comic books go for. I'm not a big comic guy.
Forever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man.
If you're Marvel or DC, but Spawn's not.
All right.
It's Dark Horse.
There are 350 issues of Spawn.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Holy fucking shit. That's so many.
I looked up Spawn number of issues, and on Reddit it says, first one is, how many issues of Spawn are there? Along with a very concise answer. The next one, Spawn, did it ever amount to much?
That's an excellent question.
I would say yes, at the very least, it certainly left its fucking mark.
Oh, yeah. Laharl from Disgaea has Spawn's cape as a scarf.
He does, yes.
That's probably the biggest
just a
impact it has in my
shape-shifting
life.
red flowing garment.
Yeah, that's the biggest impact Spawn has in my life. That's the least that I can think of off the top of my head.
I mean, I watched that movie a bunch.
I bet your dad loves
I
that
remember
movie.
watching
Yeah.
it.
We love terrible movies over
Oh
at my
yeah,
house.
oh
When I
yeah.
was younger, I don't remember a lot of it, except one part lives in my brain forever.
And maggots.
No, that's there too, but I didn't really, whatever.
Yeah,
Oh,
gross
he's
out.
eating pizza with maggots on.
Yeah.
The
That was another
Violator.
one, by the way. Like they show to show the Violators super fucked up and evil. He eats pizza with maggots on it.
God bless.
'Cause he's a demon.
He's a demon.
Didn't you know? Don't you know?
But yeah, it's when he's like figuring out how to use his powers, and then he's like up on a building or something.
Yeah.
And he's morphed his hand into like an alien suction hand.
Yeah, like a claw.
And then he just like turns to camera and is like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
It's the most like generic "holy shit" like from a black man you've ever heard.
Oh man.
They really did.
And he's got to like wiggle his head a bunch because he's in the suit.
Yeah,
Like,
he does.
Yeah, he has to
Oh,
really
man.
It's
over
really bad.
enunciate everything because it's also a suit that's visibly made out of like very stiff rubber. The technology for that kind of suit didn't exist yet in the 90s.
It's a very 90s suit.
Oh man.
Pretty bad.
I don't remember any of this fucking movie, dude.
It was Michael Jai White, yeah. Good lord.
Time.
I really like Michael Jai White, by the way. He's spectacular in basically everything that I've seen him in. But they clearly were directing in a direction for Spawn. And, good lord.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that don't got it.
Anyway, I brought all of that up almost entirely because I just didn't like it. And I just feel the need to vomit out when I have a problem with something, even if it's pretty incoherent.
Hey, man. You know, that's the point of being a wizard, is sometimes you have to get your ramblings off.
Another thing about Spawn that I find funny is that it also does that thing where it's like, heaven is also evil.
Yes.
Oh, fuck
Yeah,
you!
Yeah.
Like, just because it's heaven doesn't mean they're the good guys.
Yeah,
Like, they're
the
angels are, like, just as murderous as, like, demons and
Yeah,
shit.
because humans are so evil. As you've been able to see, what with being a hobo on the street all burned up. And he's like, but even now in the streets of New York, there is goodness, and there are good people out there. There's people who give me change and don't throw bottles at me. And the angels are like, we don't care.
Fuck you!
If you're wondering, like, why does Spawn fight God when he's also fighting the devil? It's because God's also an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whatever, man. Yeah, that is very gratuitously edgy. Of like, there is no good in this universe. Buy my comic.
I mean, it's very much like, I feel like he was coming into the same problem that like Dragon Ball Z has, where they accidentally made like, okay, we decided the most powerful like being in this universe is this alien who runs an empire where he like goes in and with like just by being like the equivalent of a Superman, he kills everyone and then he sells that planet. Or if he can't, he blows it up. And our guy beats him up. Okay,
Yeah.
what happens next? Fuck.
Yeah, no.
They invent robots
I
that are
remember-
really, really, really strong.
I remember.
A time traveler comes back and tells them how strong they are because I watched The Terminator recently, and that was. Have you seen Terminator 2? It's really good.
I remember listening to. I think it was Mario. I think it was Mario telling me about Dragon Ball Superhero. I think it is. It's the one where Frieza comes back. No.
So there's Battle of the Gods where Frieza first comes back.
Oh,
Okay.
you mean,
or
no.
Dragon Ball, or the Broly movie where he comes back again.
Well, so the one where he like comes back is Revival of F.
Revival of F. That's the one. Okay,
Yeah.
so I remember hearing the summary. But this goes to show how tapped out, how checked out I am with Dragon Ball in the Dragon Ball universe. Specifically, anything past Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball's a masterpiece, but Dragon Ball Z is a fucking toy commercial. Anyway, so I remember hearing the whole premise, And then Frieza ends up becoming Gold Frieza because why the fuck not?
He spent 4 months training.
And his like one of his opening moves is to blow Earth up.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, oh, so they're just blowing up planets now? Dude, fuck this show. And then there was a whole like week or so I had this conversation, and I like really like didn't think about it at all. And I'm doing something, I don't know, I'm like watching something or hanging out, and it like comes jolting back into my mind where I'm like, they were always blowing up planets in Dragon Ball. Like, it was fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Like, that was part of Goku's backstory, is that his dad, Bardock or whatever, was like, we're not gonna take shit from you anymore, Frieza. And they just point at their planet and blow it up.
It's over.
Like,
Everyone's
it's so difficult to have the stakes fucking matter when that's just automatically a thing off of square one. Like, I can just literally tap dance on this planet and it'll crack in half. Okay, fuck you, dude.
So, going back to Revival of F for a moment, I just remembered this. This is very funny to me. So, the start of Revival of F is that his minions bring Frieza back to life, which is that was like their first hurdle. And then Frieza comes and he blows up the planet, and then somebody pretty unrelated turns back time because, nah, that wasn't too fair. And then they ice his ass. Frieza's dead again. Got him.
Yeah, dude.
Ice him.
Fucking.
And then the next arc is like, we're putting together a team. Who do we get? What about Frieza?
No fucking way.
So, say what you want about it, whatever. But I really enjoyed Revival of F for because it did a few things that I always thought was just like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. But like, one hilarious bit of that Frieza in hell is that it's just he's trapped in a cocoon hanging from a tree.
Yeah.
And he's surrounded by like happy like woodland fairy creatures that are all like singing and dancing because that's his personal hell.
That's awesome. And he has to watch these little Christmas critters and I'll be
it's like there's like little bears with like uniforms like playing drums and shit.
Yeah, just having a good old time.
And then they're just like, oh, stop frowning, like the pookie face or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, little fairies flying up to him and he's just sitting there furious.
That is a pretty good bit.
Seething.
And then the other thing I really enjoyed about it was that, one, I think it's really funny. When they revived him, he gets revived in pieces because he was chopped up by Trunks.
Get fucked.
Yeah, Trunks cut him into a million fucking pieces.
But particularly Frieza's race can survive basically any injury, so he's alive.
Yeah.
But then they just dump him in a revival tank and he just slurps together. And then he does the thing that's like the most obvious. It's like, they got really strong because they trained. I'm going to try training.
Yep.
And after 4 months of training, he's God mode.
Yeah.
Like,
he learns he learns a transformation that turns out he nailed it.
I do think it's funny how the secret to defeating Kakarot was actually learning karate. Like, I was just super strong before and was just kind of throwing my weight around.
I mean,
what if I actually learned martial arts?
And it's implied that he chose to make it golden.
Yeah.
Like, he could have picked the color and he picked gold because fuck you.
All of his
That's pretty good.
All of his
Pretty
transformations outside of like his like quote unquote final form, which is really his base form, all of them he picked how they looked. That's like a key component of Frieza is he was weakening himself and he first chose to look like a xenomorph from Aliens for some reason, and then he was like, no, a little weaker. How about I look like Dad? And then he turns into giant buff version, and he's like, no, I need to be a little bit weaker. What if I look like a child? And then that's the small Frieza that we first see. But like, why to all of it?
It was the 80s and it was badass.
It was the 80s, yeah.
Well, the original explanation was that he couldn't handle his body couldn't take being in his base form.
I mean, it really can't anyway, judging from what fucking Goku did to his ass.
Well, yeah, but that was the explanation of why he had the weakening transformations because he was too strong for himself.
But yeah, it makes sense for him to pick that it's golden. Like, obviously he can pick it. He can shapeshift. Nearly.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed that he did that as a fuck you.
Yeah. Super Saiyan's real great, huh? not so good to have a golden enemy, is it? And they're like, we're actually way past yellow on like the scale of.
They really are.
Yeah, and then he turns blue.
Yeah.
And it's just like, God damn it.
Super Saiyan Blue looks so bad.
Amadeus is going buck
So-
wild.
I won't argue with anybody about like the quality of Super anymore because a lot of the arguments boil down to like matters of taste.
Listen, I'm a hater. I'm a hater on a man who's broke and ain't got nothing, just like me. Okay?
But the thing I don't know if anybody can convince me of, or even convince me to like take a middle ground approach to, is that the big blue hair doesn't look so fucking stupid. It looks so bad every time. It looks every time like it's an episode of a different show making fun of Dragon Ball Z.
At this point, whatever, like, Dragon Ball's so goofy, like, I don't know.
That's the word
doesn't
for
really
it.
matter.
The closest that they made to it looking good was by completely changing which kind of blue it was for Gogeta in the movie.
Yeah, goofy is the best word for Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
That's I don't know why I'm having an epiphany with this. Yeah, that is the word that encapsulates all of Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball
It's
used to
goofy.
be about reasonable things, like a child killing the entirety of the Communist Party.
Yeah, well, I mean, it started as a comedy.
Butchering them in their country.
It was only slowly over time that it became a serious martial arts thing.
Which he hated
yeah,
so bad.
Which, calling it a martial arts show is pretty generous.
He wanted
Considering
to
he
do
doesn't
bits.
know shit about martial arts.
Yeah, but,
He
I mean,
just
he made it
wanted to
work.
do bits.
He did. He did want to do bits.
Yeah, we talked about this in a previous episode. He just wanted to do bits.
But a thing that like I really fucking really started to bug me. Have you seen like all the characters like fighting poses? You know how many actual like stances are in Dragon Ball? Vegeta has his hands facing outward like a goddamn moron.
As an adult, I've never paid attention to like the various stances. I know like a few of the Ginyu Force are literally making fun of shit.
The Ginyu Force is one of the ones that are supposed to be a bit, and I accept that. But Goku taking that stance where he has like two fingers up, like right in front of his face like that looks a lot like a regular stance. But then the rest of his whole body is like, and you can hit me anywhere but a sliver in front of my face where my hand is.
Yeah, it looks cool though.
It does look cool.
It looks really cool.
Yeah.
Ginyu Force is making fun of Super Sentai,
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
which is Power Rangers, if people don't know that.
So for those
If
of
you're
you,
listening to this podcast, you better know what Super Sentai means.
for those of you who don't know the horrible story of Power Rangers, there was a man named Chaim Saban who purchased the rights from Japan for just like parts of Sentai, and they're like, we'll record all the rest of it in English and we'll air it in America. And that led almost all of them into a very downward spiral of a career.
Oof.
That was not what I don't think that Power Rangers has done very many favors for anybody besides the two bullies from the original series who are still in Power Rangers. Bulk and Skull.
No way.
Yeah. They're in
No
space
way.
now. One of them's a general.
Wait,
I
what?
didn't know
Yes.
that. Okay.
In modern Power Rangers?
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
That's actually kind of cool.
Now, if it was about them, this is their JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Especially because most of the Power Ranger series, not just the Sentai series, most of the Power Ranger series conceptually aren't in the same timeline. But they are. Bulk and Skull are universal constants.
That's fucking wild to me. I had no idea.
Yep.
I mean, good for them, I guess. Okay, I'm gonna take this time to segue into another topic.
Yes.
Speaking of,
We already did that. We stopped talking about Spawn.
yeah, true. We're going again. Speaking of serializations that had interesting origins, Robotech. So a lot of folks don't understand.
Robotech is a goddamn mess.
Robotech is a fucking nightmare. Like, okay, I'm speaking from a place of ignorance, and that I have not watched Robotech as an adult, and I don't remember it well enough because I watched Macross, And Macross is specifically not Robotech. It is 100% not Robotech. So let me explain.
A couple of scenes are.
Because so before I go into this explanation, a reason to bring it up is we actually very recently, in the last 5 years or so, you can now actually access Macross in the United States.
The original one.
The original Macross. I actually watched that as an adult. I really enjoyed the original Macross. There's a lot of themes in there that you can really tell it set the standard for a lot of where Mecha went to.
Very influential.
Very influential. And it is the only show I have seen to weaponize boners convincingly.
Yeah. That was pretty plot relevant.
It was their move. It was their Achilles heel.
Yeah.
The Centrati weren't ready for it. They had no defense. They had no response. Mario's gonna be like, I'm a fucking crazy person.
I know nothing about them.
So first of all, what is Macross?
So Macross, following the success of Gundam, we had this whole surge of mecha animes, and basically a whole bunch of folks were trying to figure out what the next big Gundam was going to be, trying to capitalize on that Gundam big bucks. It was their Star Wars. Mm-hmm. And Sunrise ended up putting out a show called Macross. And Macross features these transforming jets that go from being a jet, they can go to being a half jet, half man, they can go to being like a robot man. Fucking
pretty sick, yeah.
Nasty. The concept of Macross starts that a ship crashes to Earth, or some sort of alien tech crashes to Earth. There's a unification war about it. The not Earth Federation basically starts developing this giant super battle fortress called the Macross, and the process of they're about to have its maiden voyage and blah blah, and then oh no, first contact with aliens. They're just giant people, and they fight in these giant robot balls. They basically bunch up into like a little ball themselves and sit in this giant robot walker. It's so goofy, dude. It's so goofy.
Are they just using Scooty Puff walkers?
Yeah, they're Scooty Puff walkers. They're just
the Scooty Puff Jr. that he has to really squish himself into.
Yeah, but then it has two legs.
But it's got AT-AT Walker legs.
Yeah, it has AT-AT Walker legs, and there's otherwise just a giant ball head.
A weapon to surpass Metal Gear.
I wish I could remember this more vividly so I could more accurately paint you a picture of how absurd Macross is. In the best possible way. With all love and endearment, I say this. I loved Macross, but it is such a wacky fucking... Because one of the most important elements, one of the most key elements and themes is the power of J-pop.
Right, but the plot of this... So aliens come, people board the Macross, the fortress, right?
Yeah. Some there's this kid who was not a test pilot, a stunt pilot. He was a stunt pilot, and his older brother didn't make it or something, or he gets shot down in episode 1. I don't remember, but he has a friend who's this kind of big brother character to him, and he's one of the Macross pilots. Yeah, he's one of the test pilots. He's a cool guy. And I want to be a pilot too, but I don't want to be a war pilot. That's bad. War pilots are bad. You shouldn't kill people. And then the aliens come, so he has to get on the spaceship, Shinji. Get in the robot, Shinji. So this guy does, and they end up having to fly the Super Fortress spaceship into space and begin a campaign against the Centrati, the horrible space aliens. Mm-hmm. And one of the characters that ends up being on the spaceship with him is this girl Minmay, this Chinese cute little anime girl Minmay, and she ends up becoming a J-pop icon, and this is integral and very important to the plot. It is very important that you understand that she can sing good and that she's a J-pop icon.
She's very pretty, she can sing good, and everyone loves her for these things.
They specifically have a thing because part of Macross going into space is that all these civilians basically had to go in there with them.
Yeah, like a Noah's Ark situation.
Yeah.
We're escaping.
And they literally made a little city within the Macross. That's how big it is. So a huge portion of human Earth, or not a huge portion, a huge portion of this city is now living in the Macross, and they end up having a Miss Macross pageant where they decide, which of our sweet young darlings will be Miss Macross, like it's a beauty pageant. There is a space war going on. The fate of humanity is at stake here. There are giant people who are killing all of us. And we're having a beauty pageant.
We're Japanese. We're not going to live like those dumb British during the Blitz. We're going to keep doing our stuff.
So, yeah. fucking Min-May gets elected Miss Macross, and she ends up getting sponsorships and all of these show deals, and it's a whole big thing. She's Miss Macross, but she's...
You're gonna be a star, sweetie. What about Space War?
And they have this will they, won't they with her and the main character, whose name I can't remember. In Robotech, they call him Rick Hunter, and that's such a generic Americanized name that it's just burned into my psyche.
It's so
as the
funny,
character.
though.
Rick Hunter, yeah. I can't even remember. His name was aggressively Japanese, if I remember correctly.
It's John Macross.
Fuck.
A little thing about me, if you're wondering, is you will never get me to not say that a character whose name I don't know is just John, whatever the series is.
John Macross is a pretty cool guy. He fights Zentradi and isn't afraid of anything.
He doesn't.
So yeah, that's Macross in a nutshell. At one point, the way they are able to defeat the Zentradi in space, the way they're able to break through, is that their civilization segregates men and women, and they go their entire lives without being encountering each other. They're basically made in factories. They don't know what sex is. They don't know what any of that is. And so when the Zentradi males see human females, because, don't you know, Zentradi are just giant people. They're the same species. They're just giant. And they figure out a way to ungiantify them so that we can intermix and intermarry.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a huge part of the show. But the first time they see women, they're so struck as to what that is that they lose their minds and go into a blank state.
No,
Yeah,
no.
they have like a fucking
Girls,
soy.
no.
Yeah, they have a soy jack response, and they literally lose control of themselves and are unable to do anything. And so the hidden weapon that the Macross uses to spearhead its attack is they show main character Rick Hunter, not Rick Hunter, and Min-May kissing, and they project it at the Zentradi army, and they weaponize their boners against them. They're too stunned and shocked by the indecency of kissing that none of them can fight, and they have a devastating counterattack. It's so fucking stupid, dude.
Might be the only thing I can think of that surpasses the Wizards. Nazi propaganda magical projector, like stun locking the fucking
The populace, yeah.
You want to run the people through that one real quick?
Wizards is a 1970s Ralph Bakshi movie that is absolute nonsense.
It's incredible.
It's incredible.
Best boy is Robot Bounty Hunter, man.
Oh, 100%.
Necron.
By the way, there are robots,
Yeah,
but not technology.
they don't matter. But anyway, the evil wizard has rediscovered the power of Nazi propaganda and the Nazi war machine. And his big move
And not figuratively, by the way. Literally,
literally.
he found film reels of propaganda, and he was like, perfect!
And his devastating move that gets him every time is he's got a magic projector powered by 2 slave pixies, where he projects said Nazi propaganda onto the battlefield, and it's like an AoE stun spell.
Yeah.
To the
No
enemy,
one's ready for it.
to the good guy army. And then his forces of demons and monsters. Just
All his
steamroll
rotoscoped
them.
villain and minions.
The Bakshi rotoscoping is so iconic. Man.
And somehow Macross did one better.
Yeah, one upped it. Yeah, they projected to a boy and a girl kissing, and they can't. They
And then
can't
all
compose
of them,
themselves.
they jizzed themselves into a coma, and their robots came and they shot them all.
But Macross does have one very interesting plot point where like Earth loses pretty handedly. So like right before the weaponized kissing scene happens, is the Zentradi are like keeping an eye on Earth because they're like, oh, if they mix male and women together, that's fucking weird. They call it the proto-culture. They call it proto-culture.
Yeah.
Because they're all hyper-utilitarian.
They haven't figured out the real secret to space travel. Sexism.
So they call it the protoculture, and they're trying to observe the protoculture, the forbidden protoculture. And at a certain point, like their leaders are just like, Yeah, I think we're done observing, and they just glass the Earth. Like,
Yeah.
it was always an option. It didn't take them any time or effort at all.
Oh, no. The scope of this being a war was totally from your perspective. This was more of like a fun day for us.
Yeah, and basically some of the only people left are the civilians that were on the Macross.
Yeah.
Other than that, basically it's all fucked. Like, the planet... I mean, it's not entirely glass. Like, it's still somewhat habitable, but their entire fleet orbits the Earth and just blows the surface to bits. There's no cities left. Everyone's fucked. They just do it. It happens instantly and it's over. Like, and they're like, beans, what do we do? And then they weaponize boners and do a devastating counterattack. Yep. But yeah,
and it works. They win.
So Macross is a fucking...
Macross is a thematically coherent, if strange, series about some excellent action figures, a girl singing career, and alien giants.
Yes. Now,
which brings us to Robotech.
Robotech. So on a meta standpoint here, like specifically talking about like God, what's the word am I thinking of here? Production. On a production standpoint, like the syndication rights.
Yeah.
Basically, that was one of the issues, is that the folks over in America wanted to buy a show and they wanted to reach syndication, which means 100 episodes. Macross was not 100 episodes. It was like above 50. I don't think much. I think it might have been 54, 56, but it wasn't quite 100. So instead of just letting that sleeping dog lie and understanding it's not happening, they just decided to buy the rights to a bunch of other shows, and then just mix the films together, like the
just added them together. Yeah,
just added them together to make an entirely different show that somewhat follows the plot of Macross. They take a lot of liberties, and that's what Robotech is. It's not Macross at all. It's literally I think they cropped together 4 shows.
Yeah. To
make Robotech. And a lot of them aren't even in like this like same style. It gets pretty bad at times.
It's pretty visible.
And the thing that tickles me the most is I distinctly remembering watching a scene on Toonami about Robotech, and I was rewatching Macross and I kept thinking, okay, I can't wait to recontextualize this scene that keeps playing in my head. And it never came up.
Because it wasn't from Macross.
Because it wasn't from Macross. It was from some other fucking show that I still haven't seen, and it, like, boiled my blood at first. I was like, what the fuck was I waiting for? And then I looked it up, and yeah, Robotech and Macross, entirely different things.
Robotech 1985 is an original story adapted with edited content and revised dialogue from the animation of 3 different mecha anime series.
I was going to say 4 might be too much, but it's at least 3.
Those series are Super Dimension Fortress Macross.
Yeah.
Super Dimension Cavalry Southern Cross.
Yep.
And Genesis Climber Mospeada.
I don't know that one at all.
Yeah, it's not even a word. So, and it's visibly not. So that's it's this one. You'll notice it's not from the same decade.
Yeah, it's like some of the clips they take are an entirely different style, and it's just not even remotely close to what's going on. You can just tell someone else did this. This doesn't belong.
This is this is more of a dying Earth, so we begin to like look into space series. Not a lot of robots I'm seeing.
And
see a pretty cool motorcycle, but not
And because they did this whole ploy to reach syndication, and they like blended,
and they failed, by the way.
Yeah, they failed, and they blended 3 shows together. Getting the actual distribution rights to Macross has been stuck because this one company has it. So for like 30 years, you couldn't get Macross to like streaming services or even like get DVDs over here. Really, like that no one could get like the translation rights for the dubs. Like you basically couldn't get any of the Macross. And there's a lot of Macross series.
Oh yeah,
there's like off the top of my head at least 5. Like. There's like one with like fucking... all of them involve J-pop. It is a constant theme of the power of music, which is like cool. I'm actually down for that. I love that kind of shit. But like, the way Macross does it is so fucking wacky. I remember distinctly one of the first times I ever got really mad at Kevin. It boiled my blood. I was watching Macross Frontier, and the main character was literally a Bushonen, and like it was an important plot point that he hates being a Bushonen. He used to do like, what is it, the kabuki? Is it when you're like fucking playing as a girl in their fucking traditional plays?
I think in kabuki they would do that, but I don't
Is
know
that what it's called?
Kabuki is where it's sort of like a largely silent affair that's punctuated by music, and there's like face paints and big masks.
I don't want to say. I'm a fucking Philistine.
Some sort of traditional theater.
Yeah, some sort of traditional theater, and he would always play like where men used to have to play women because they don't want women to be actors. He was a Bushonen playing a female, and the other pilots would constantly fucking rip on him for it,
right.
and it was a constant plot point that he was mad about this. And I remember I kind of
which is pretty fair.
And going back to a previous episode, I used to be very closeted about being queer. Like, I used to like, anytime I would gravitate to these characters and be like, this guy got it. This fucking femboy, I love this shit. I was super insecure about it. So anytime someone called me out, I would get super defensive and shitty. And I remember watching Macross Frontier. It's giant robots fighting space bugs. Pretty cool. And Kevin was like, this is the gayest shit I have ever seen. And I was like, no, it's not! No, it's not! Take it back! I was mad. I was so fucking mad, and Kevin thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. Because, you see, I didn't say it was the gayest shit I've ever seen in order for us to stop watching it. That's not why I did that. I did that because I thought it would be very funny to say that at that moment, and then I got a reaction. And unfortunately, I'm a bit incorrigible.
Yeah, he is.
In that I'm like, oh well, this is what I'm doing now.
Let's see how far this can go.
Far this can go.
And it went. I would watch it in secret because like back in the day we'd hang out a lot and we all had our laptops, so we'd kind of like hang out together. Before smartphones were the norm,
yeah,
us fat nerd people would get together on our laptops.
We ignored each other like the people of tomorrow would ignore each other. We were ahead of the curve in ignoring each other.
Oh yeah, just basking in each other's presence while being in our own little worlds. And I would watch anime a lot and just sit on my laptop and watch anime. And yeah, I remember he would pass over and he would like look at my screen and I would like reactively get offended, like because I knew he was gonna say some fucking shit.
Oh yeah, the best times were when I could just go from looking at the screen to looking at you, and then you'd be like, "Shut up," and I'm like, "I didn't say anything."
That's what I'm saying, dude. I got so insecure about watching Macross Frontier. Also, they have one of the most gratuitous legal lollies in the fucking planet.
That's a whole fucking problem with Japan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but this is the first one I like. When I went online as a human and I was like, oh, I see what you did there, you cheeky little monkey. Like,
right.
So there's a character, I think her name is Clan. So part of Macross is that the giant alien people are just giant humans. Yeah. So the proto-culture is basically not being a space fascist. So the Zentradi, a lot of them convert to wanting to be more human-like and embracing the proto-culture and having fucking moe anime and enjoying puppies and stuff.
Yep.
They're super about it. So the Zentradi will get into these machines that will shrink them down into being regular size. They can always go back in and grow back up. So one of the main characters, the blonde pretty boy that's always razzing the main character, he has a childhood friend trope that's a girl Zentradi, but when she shrinks down, she ends up being younger than she's supposed to be. And one of the plot points is that he refuses to have feelings for her because he doesn't want to be called a pedophile. Like, that is an actual content in Macross Frontier, that is an actual drama point. And I remember watching this and thinking, what did you mean by that, Japan?
Yeah.
What are you
because
doing
they
here?
don't use that to explore, like, oh, well, what does it mean to be, like, involved with these people? Does it need to be physical? Is this technically pedophile? They don't explore it like that. They just put it there, and they're like...
Isn't that funny?
Yeah! That's what I'm saying, dude! Like, fuck you!
And when you're young, you can look at it and they're like, oh, yeah, there's kids in the show who, like, yeah, kids rule, because you're a child and you don't know. You don't know what they could possibly mean by this.
Yeah. 13-year-old Tony was a very naive person. Yeah. He didn't quite, but he was starting to understand. He was starting to see a lot of trends within these cartoons that he liked so much. Yeah, a lot of
1,000-year-old demon, huh?
You know what?
Right.
You know what the worst fucking part of that trope is? Is like, I was a young boy when I was playing Disgaea, and it was just coded in me to be like, yeah, 1,000-year-old demon, man, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like,
of course there are children in this game. I'm a children.
but it's fine. They're a 1,000-year-old demon.
Yeah.
But they're just like me.
Yeah.
And now, as a 30-year-old adult, I can no longer say it like Edna. I'm just not allowed to do that.
No.
Edna's a goddamn problem.
Edna is a problem.
Edna's a goddamn problem.
And if anybody's like, nuh-uh, you know why.
Yeah, you put them
You
on
know
a
what
list.
we mean.
Yeah, we put that guy on a list.
There's no one out there being like, what could he mean by she's a problem?
Like
It's
the
no
most
mystery. We don't need Scooby and the gang to sleuth out why this obvious child wearing an outfit that strippers would say is a bit much.
has a collar on it.
Yeah.
Thumbs the collar and sticks her tongue out. Is literally a BDSM dom.
It's a problem.
It's a problem. The most you'll give me, like, gun to my head, justify the existence of this guy or die. The most I will say, and the most I can say is, petite women exist.
They do.
That's the most they'll give you. But they're not coded like that.
And frankly, in Japan especially, they do. That's a real body type.
That is my biggest argument. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that will be my biggest argument to the defense of characters that look like that. Not lowlies. I won't defend lowlies.
No. Yeah.
But I will defend characters being drawn in that kind of style because petite women exist, and then you codify them to be cuter.
Yeah.
You end up creating this sort of Lovecraftian horror, right?
Yeah.
It's that's what people look like.
Yeah.
But and typically in Japan they come a lot shorter than they come here. So between petite women existing and the average height being shorter, would give you a little bit of concessions. But Etna has crossed the line in so many goddamn ways. By the way, I love the character. There's a very anytime I play a Sky game and I can use Etna.
No one thinks that we're talking about her character arc or like her sense of humor. Everyone knows what we mean the moment they see the character.
Oh fuck! And if you don't, yeah, put that guy on a list.
Yeah,
put that guy on a list.
If you don't, then you've learned something about yourself. Actually, good lord.
God bless.
So anyway, Robotech is made out of 3 different anime that are visually similar, we'll call it. Not perfectly similar.
2 of them are. 2 of them are.
2 of them are really close.
But one of them is just like, what the fuck are you doing?
One of them's visibly not. Another series like that a lot of people don't know about because over the years they've conglomerated and become one thing is Transformers.
I know the Dinobots weren't originally Transformers.
The Dinobots weren't Transformers. The big there was one city Transformer,
Metroplex.
Yeah, that like he was supposed to be his own like entirely separate thing, where it was about the city could transform and then like could fight monster shit. That was supposed to be its own separate thing. Pretty much every time they invent a new kind of like, okay, we're not talking about a Decepticon or an Autobot. Like they introduced the Predacons, who were like turned into like horrible bug monsters. That's because they aren't Transformers. That was another series that they sort of combined in.
I didn't know that about Transformers, but that adds up.
Yeah.
That adds up.
And Optimus Prime is not Optimus Prime in Japan.
Yeah, he's fucking Armored Convoy.
Armored Convoy.
Which is a pretty good name.
Yep. And then there's Big Armored Convoy.
Oh.
There's Black Armored Convoy.
Oh. Big Black.
There is a virtual unlimited supply of variations of Armored Convoy, who are all Optimus, obviously, in America. And then there's a giant version of him that's like the spiritual, like it's the most Optimus Armored Convoy version, and his name is Jinrai. He's
I didn't expect that.
There's also like a bunch of things in Transformers that like the lore of Transformers very much is try to remember the lore of Transformers from the cartoon and the Michael Bay movies and like any comics that you might have written. All of them are basically the same thing in that some shit happened and now these guys turn into cars and fight.
pretty good at
There's
motivation.
very little, like, hard plot that, like, they need to salvage between series.
Yeah, it's interesting. I sometimes, like, think back to how people just assumed cartoons are made for kids. And then you have things like Armitage and, like, Ava, where, like, it's a kind of, it's not. And I think about where that misconception comes from and how many, especially in America, will think cartoon, see cartoon, and think, oh, this is kiddie shit. And it's stuff like that, where, like, the beginning and end is that robot turns into car, isn't that cool? By now.
Oh no, Megatron was defeated. Uh-oh. Starscream's in charge, and there's a new guy here who's challenging him, and it's Galvatron! Who could this be? It's Megatron in a different color? Gasp! Buy now! Buy! Buy, buy, buy!
Those sons of bitches.
You guys remember that fucking, like, early 2000s, like, anime Transformers?
Yes, I do.
Yes, Armada.
With the Minicon?
Yes.
Armada, yes.
Oh, man.
Yeah, because
I really liked that.
That was the first time that I genuinely had the thought as like a little munchkin, is there supposed to be lore here? And then I looked into it and there was. Because it was a series that I was able to watch all of instead of a thing that I was only able to like experience in small chunks here and there. Because you can watch the original Transformers basically every scene out of order. Not just the episodes, between scenes, just anything. Random number generator could spit out scenes, and what'll happen is, I will turn into a truck, Megatron. And then that's it. Again and again. And then sometimes we'll have the movie, which was animated so beautifully that I assume that men died in the making of it.
Do you remember how sometimes Megatron's hand would turn into a mace and
Yeah.
Optimus's hand would turn into an axe?
Into an axe, yeah.
And it was just fucking Star Wars fight.
Yeah, and they didn't explain that in the
they
show
never did.
ever.
They never fucking
The
did.
only information you have on that is on the box of the toy is like, and his hand turns into an Energon axe, and you're like, does it come with an Energon axe? And the toy's like, no Energon axe included. Buy the weapons pile, and then you have to go buy the weapons pile.
Those sons of bitches.
Yep.
Those sons of bitches.
Buy now. And by the way, I keep saying that as if I have something against these toy commercial shows. I don't.
Yeah, okay, so...
He-Man ruled.
He-Man fucking ruled.
You know what we watched relatively recently that is just a toy commercial show? The Thundercats.
Yeah, yes.
We watched the first episode of Thundercats, and it is so lovingly animated that it made me like think like, wow, no one respects this like it should be respected. And at the same time, it was just like, and then they have to like get out of there. So what do? They go to their Panther guy, and he's like, I gotta invent a new thing. You should buy the new Thundercats tank.
You know my favorite part about Thundercats? Snarf.
Oh, fucking Snarf!
Like, what the fuck is Snarf?
So,
Like, Dragon Cat Man?
on planet Thundera, they have a caste system of what kind of cat monster you can be. And they have a slave undercast of Snarfs. This is completely canon. The Snarfs are happy in their slave underclass.
Their house elves.
They're just dummies!
Yes.
What did they mean by this?
Cats are racist.
Also, Mumra's really cool.
Mumra.
Oh, dude, the goat.
So I brought this up.
Like, Earth is dead. Like, he won.
Yeah, he fucking did it.
So I brought this up when we were watching because I looked into like what the fuck is up with Mumra, because the first episode doesn't tell you anything about Mumra. They crash land on a planet along with a bunch of fucking mutants that were like attacking them out in space, and the mutants get taken in by Mumra, and now Mumra has them as minions. And so we looked into it. Mumra is a wizard from Earth in ancient Egypt. And he went to Pharaoh and said, Pharaoh, you know how you're a living god? And Pharaoh was like, yes, but only in the strictly metaphorical sense. Obviously, I will die and be entombed, as will all humans. And he says, well, Pharaoh, I invented immortality. You can live as an actual god. But also, I already did it to myself, so I will also be a living god. So Pharaoh, not liking. By the way, no Pharaoh name is given. He's just Pharaoh, like this is the Bible or something. And and so Pharaoh did the only logical thing, which was he shot Mum-Ra's ass into outer space somehow.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here with our Egyptian tech.
Okay.
And then he crash lands on planet. I think it's actually called like Venom, like the Star Fox planet. And he uses his evil wizardry to take over that planet, which kills it because he's an undead monster man. And then the Thundercats show up, and then his plan isn't clear. What he wants from them besides to ice their asses, like just
I'll get you.
He figured out.
He's a lich. He's evil.
Yeah. I think he wants the Sword of Omens because it lets you.
What a great name! What a great.
It lets you
name.
see the future, and he can maybe throw it into his evil cauldron that makes him shredded sometimes. I think he like makes a copy of it at a certain point because this show wanted you to buy so many toys. But Thundercats, Lion-O's a boy.
Yeah, he's a little boy.
Yeah.
It's a thing that I feel like doesn't go addressed enough.
Well, physically, he's a man. He has the mental
that's
of a child.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. If it was a man's mind and a boy's body, that's far more palatable.
To me, at least, yeah.
Yeah, because at the very least, he'll age into his true, like, age at some point. Whereas if he's a boy in a man's body, he's just going to be a super fucked up guy until one day a mummy kills him.
Well, no, because it's actually brilliant. Because that's how they make him. He's still badass. Lion-O is he's better at the things the other.
He's
Thundercats
ethnically
do.
superior
Yeah.
to all of them. Yes.
Like he's faster than
Cats are
Chitara.
racist. Yep.
He's just better than all of them.
The only thing that he's not visibly better than is one guy has the ability to turn invisible, and Lion-O just calls him a pussy about it.
But then the other part is, how do you relate to your young audience? He's a boy too. even
I'm
though
just
he's
a little
man.
boy.
Man, that is
Yeah.
pretty brilliant. Yeah. By now.
If turning to the screen, if I were you, I'd talk to your parents and tell them Lion-O sent you. Buy Thundercats now. I'm a little kid like you. You can trust me. Certainly no studio would make me some sort of plant. Ha 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 ha. Buy now.
By now. And with that, we're going to end tonight's episode. Thank you so much for listening.
We didn't get to half of our stuff. We're so ADHD.
It's fine. It's fine.
I hope you enjoy this.
If you want to support the channel, go ahead and look me up on Patreon at Famfare. You can also give us a like and subscribe on YouTube, also at Famfare. And if you have an idea for an episode, go ahead and tweet that. Or no, skeet that.
Skeet it at
because
Blue Sky.
we are trying to kill Twitter. Skeet that on Blue Sky at the Smug Grape. And with that, have an excellent evening.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.